Good evening and welcome to tonight's Stoke City Fans Forum. Tonight's forum is being recorded in the Waddington suite of the Bet365 Stadium on BBC Radio Stoke. I can see plenty of Stoke fans in the room in front of me, and thanks to you guys for coming down today and how important this night is for you and for the fans that have got us on at home, listening or watching. Over the last few weeks, and in particular the last few days, you've been sending in your questions to BBC Radio Stoke, and over the next hour, we hope to answer as many as possible. Now, our panel this evening are head coach Stephen Schumacher, technical director Ricky Martin, and co-chairman John Coates. Chaps, welcome. We've got plenty of questions here, so we should probably get started. I'm going to start with yourself, Stephen. The first one that's been sent in is a question of why, despite having these two different managers and two different squads of players since the start of last season, why has the form at home been so poor?
Yeah, it's obviously clearly an issue. I think at a club the size of this and the expectation that comes with it, playing in front of a huge crowd who expect us to win every week, I think that can have an effect on players. And I think when the results have gone the way they've gone over the last couple of seasons, it must become down to a confidence issue. So I spoke about it as the first time I've seen that kind of at the weekend against Leicester. I think the way we've performed at home in the previous games I've been here, we've played quite well. But on Saturday, I felt as though once we had a bit of adversity and once we conceded certainly the first couple of goals, you could visibly see the players lack a little bit of confidence and belief. So something at the end of the game, I sort of spoke to them and said, look, we need to try and block out that noise and try and turn it round and do something about it. So yeah, there's definitely no hiding it behind it. The home form hasn't been good enough. But the way I am and the way I want the players to be is try not to let it affect them and attack every game, because as soon as you win one game or you get a good performance here, then it can quickly change. And I'm sure the fans are all desperate to see us win and play well here. And it'll have to be something that we have to build and try and get that momentum back at our home stadium, because having good home form is the key to any sort of successful team.
John, next question is from Mark. This is to say, why, in your opinion, have we struggled so badly in the Championship for so long, with a number of managers who have been successful elsewhere, all having failed at Stoke?
So I think the first thing to address is sort of we haven't done well enough. You know, we've been performed well below my expectation, our expectation. And that's been a thing of great personal sort of regret for me. You know, I feel it very much, and I feel that very, very badly, and desperately want to change that. What I would like to say, during that period, the support we've had as a club and from the supporters and from yourselves has been excellent, and the patience that's been shown during that tough period has been I'm very grateful for. In terms of why a manager, when you look at a manager or a head coach and you see him in a particular environment at another club and they've done well, you never quite know until you take that person and put them in that different environment as to how they're actually going to perform. There can be a number of things different in any different environment, you know, expectation, size, the way maybe people expect you to play. But you know, the fact is, we've had a number of managers that haven't quite been successful. Now, there are some reasons beyond their control for that. So, you know, when we came down to the Championship, that was the exact year they changed the profit and sustainability rules in order to make any breach of those severe points deductions. And you're just seeing the alarm that's setting off in the Premier League just at the moment. Well, that happened the year we got relegated. And so we went from a business model of, you know, when we got to the Premier League and when we were in the Premier League, we were putting a lot of money into the club every year in order to try and punch beyond our weight, you know, punch beyond our economic resources as a club. And that was highly successful for us. When they made that change and we were down in the Championship, we had to take, you know, we had to change that business model, and we had to somehow get ourselves compliant with the rules, and that was tough. But that has had an effect, but it's still, I would still have expected us to be better, and I still expect more. And it's incumbent upon me to look at every aspect of the club, you know, whether that be off the pitch, whether that be recruitment, whether that be the academy, and we've just got to make sure we're doing everything better. And with that, we give Stephen, you know, the tools with which to get us successful and break that cycle.
Stephen, back to yourself. This is a question that we've had in from John, a question from Andrew as well. How are you going to break the club out of its current doom loop and bring success and stability?
Doom loop. Well, first and foremost, I can't allow myself to think like that. I can't have that sort of terminology, because probably for two reasons. Firstly, that's something that's gone on in the past. I can't affect that. I can't influence that or change what's gone on previously. All I can sort of control is where we're trying to go, and try and be positive and trying to play the football and get the results that we need and we all want. And secondly, I feel as though me coming to this club was obviously a big challenge. It was a huge club, but I was seen as a huge opportunity, and I was excited by the challenge, and I wouldn't have accepted the job or accepted this challenge if I didn't think it was possible to do something about it. So you've mentioned there's been other managers that have came and you say have failed to have the success that our fans want and deserve. And if I can be the one who changes that and changes that cycle, then I will have achieved what many other good managers haven't been able to do. So I'm that positive, and as I say, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have came here if I didn't think it was possible.
Next one, which is for yourself, Ricky. This is a recruitment-based question. James, Jamie, Darcy, to name but a few, that have asked, why did we not sign a left-back and a centre-back during the January transfer window?
Okay. Right, so there's a few parts to this, so I try and get them in a sequence so it makes sense. So we had a couple of loan opportunities, and one we wanted to do really early in the window, which we did with Dane Weaverson coming in. And then Stephen was really keen to bring Luke Cundall in, so we felt we wanted to use that, and that made us use up our loans. So we then had to look at the market, and we still felt we had some business, and we discussed a lot internally about a left back or left centre back, but we also looked at attacking options as well. And what got presented was something from the summer market where we wanted a wide player, and we just felt, and we discussed it internally, that probably this window, the best opportunity for us for permanent, not loans, for permanent, were attacking two players. So that's why we didn't bring the left back in. It was reviewed, it was discussed, and we did look at everything. The other point to mention as well is why we can't just carry on adding players, and people might say, why didn't you could have done another one on top, is that we're at 25-man squad. So on Tuesday, I do believe Chris Laird is in the room, we have to put in our squad, and you have 25 names in your squad. So we're at that limit, and we can't add any more. So we've got a good squad. We've had 18 players in the summer. We've recruited 4 in the winter. So it doesn't take hard to work out. There's 22 there already, and not all of them count to the 25, but the 25-man squad is now. So that's part of the reason in the background as well. But all them discussions were done internally, and we're really excited about the 2 attacking options that we got that are not loans, that are permanent. So they are here, not just for now, but also for next season.
Well, you brought me on a little bit to the next question, and you mentioned Daniel Iverson there as well. This one's from Liam, who says, why do we continue to rely on free transfers, loans and academy graduates for our goalkeepers? That's for yourself again, Ricky, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, probably one of the highest positions for loans from Premier League is goalkeeper. Premier League have a big stock of players, and they often have potential players that can go out and play in the Football League, and goalkeepers is one of them. So what happened in the summer in our recruitment drive, we were looking, we had lots of options going on with different positions, but when Travers got presented to us, that was an opportunity we felt we couldn't turn down. A Premier League player of that quality, and also the fact that he got promoted out of the Championship as well was one of the key criteria. So it was an opportunity in front of us that we didn't feel we could turn down. I think we could all be open and honest, and if you ask me again, would I sign him again as a loan? I would do, because I wouldn't have predicted what happened, the circumstances of Bournemouth recalled him back because 2 goalkeepers got injured in the same week, which is very unlikely, and that was the only condition regarding the Premier League rule that they could call him back. He didn't want to go back, we know that, and he wanted to stay. That then took us to January, and we felt that there was another opportunity with Daniel Everson to come in as a loan, and that's why we acted really quickly. So we're fully aware. Going forward in the summer, we know we've got a new window, and we'll be looking to strengthen the goalkeeping department and increase that. And just one other point I want to mention is obviously Tommy Timkin, and you're talking about academy graduates. He's an England youth goalkeeper coming through the ranks, and someone we think of very highly. So he will be part of our plans, and he will be part of our succession planning of who we bring in and when we bring people in, because we need to ensure there's a pathway, and he's had some great loans this season, some great experiences, and he's back with us now training with our first team squad. He's with Stephen and the first team squad every day at the moment. So we also, and from my point of view, I've got to have one eye on the future as well.
Stephen, back to yourself. Again, this is from Liam. How do you think clubs like Luton, Plymouth, Sunderland and Ipswich, presumably with lower budgets than us, have enjoyed what Liam's describing as greater success?
Well, I know Ipswich's budget is really good. I don't know about Sunderland. But certainly the likes of Luton over the last few years have had huge success. And then speaking from experience with what's been going on at Plymouth, we managed to sort of build over a large period of time. It took, 4.5 years or 4 years to get to the Championship. When we first went down to the club down there, that was the goal, to be a sustainable Championship club within 5 years. And for us to do that, we set out some clear objectives and spoke about what it was going to take, both on the pitch and off the pitch, for us to get there. And what we found and how we did manage to get to the Championship was all the departments kind of working together and being on the same page. So not just the management team and the players, the recruitment team, the medical team, the performance staff, the people behind what you see on the pitch, the commercial team. Everybody played its part at that club in the success, and I feel like that's really important here, and we have to try and build that. And then the most important people in all of that journey for us were our fans. Like we down in Plymouth, when we went there, just been relegated into League Two, so there was a little bit of discontent, and home form again wasn't great. But pretty soon, because they could see what we were trying to do on the pitch, the success came, and the fans grew, and the numbers come through the turnstiles, and then we ended up in the Championship, as you say, with a substantially lower budget than what we have here at Stoke. So that gives me confidence that if we can build that here at this club, have every department working together with the same goal, then we will achieve the success if given the time.
Ricky, this next one's for yourself. It came through from multiple fans, actually. It's again about recruitment. What process does the club follow to identify the right players to recruit to the club, and then who has the final say?
Okay. So there's a 5-step process where we're using scouting and data, and it's important that everyone understands that data is a really important part of how we identify players, certainly in markets that we haven't got scouts or access to every week. So we're looking at data that populates some information. Then that goes on to the scouting reports. So every player will have different levels of scout reports and video scouts. We have some video scouts that watch games. And then that goes to the senior management team within the recruitment department, then do live games. And then that comes forward to myself and Jared, who then go through the potential targets, and then we present them to Stephen and the rest of the coaching team, and we share that internally, and then we do presentations as well. The final process, and let's take recent ones, what we've done in January, we'll look at targets, we discuss them, and Stephen will say, yeah, I really like them targets, and then it's down to myself to go off and start negotiating with the clubs and see what we can do financially. And it's quite interesting, we brought up Mmaee, that he was someone that was on our radar in the summer, wasn't able to be done for whatever reason, but then we were able to access that again in January. So it's been really a good example of having that data and having that historical information that we've had and the processes in place. And then when we presented, Stephen says, and his coaches give some feedback, and then it's about getting the best deal we can for the club.
Can I ask, with a scenario like Luke, that obviously Stephen you'd worked with before, is that a conversation about whether that fits what the scouts have looked at, and then obviously Stephen's background on him too? Yeah,
so we will have, and Stephen's seen this, the reports within the system. So Stephen talked about some number 8s, and then we wanted to look at that. We created a list, and Luke was one of them. We had to act really quickly because knowledge was really important, that a loan had to be broken, so he had to be sent back from his loan, and we know how frustrating that can be, so it was quite nice to be on the other foot. So that was something that we had to do, we exercised, and then we made that happen. That process is a lot quicker, but it still has to go through the steps that we've got in place.
Sticking with yourself again, Ricky, this is from John, but a couple of others as well. What will be done differently in the transfer market this coming summer to give us a better chance of a more successful season?
Ooh, yeah, good. Well, first of all, it won't be 18 signings, so that's number one, and that's really important that we understand that 18 came in the summer. Out of the 18, I was looking at the squad because we've got a recruitment review next week on the January window, but I was looking at the summer data. 8 of the 18 wasn't here for the first game of the season, which just indicates, and it's crazy, and you ask these head coaches, they don't like the fact the window's open when the season started. It's something we have to deal with, and it's a moving part. It's really frustrating for coaches and for teams, but it just highlighted that 8 of the 18 wasn't here when we kicked off the season. But going forward in the summer, we will have, we've got, I think, 6 to 8 outfield players more than we did have last pre-season. So we have a bigger squad that come back on the 1st of July. 1st of July is back to pre-season, and that will help us in the summer market. And we will do some signings, we will do some transactions coming in, but it won't be as many, and me and Stephen are already discussing what kind of players we want and what positions we need and how quickly can we get them in, because he wants to work with them for the whole of pre-season. So the quicker we can get them in, the better. That will probably be the biggest takeaway I have from the summer window.
Okay, John, this next one is for yourself, and Stephen, apologies, you may blush, I don't know what John's answer is going to be. What do you see in Steven Schumacher that tells you that he can be the one to turn the club's results around when recruiting?
I believe Stephen's an exciting, young, ambitious coach. I really like how he interacts with people, so I like how he interacts with staff, I like how he interacts with players and supporters. He's got very good manner, he's very honest. I like how he speaks about, if something's gone wrong, he fronts up to it, talks it through, why he might have done something. I had a huge admiration for what he achieved at Plymouth, to get 101 points in a season where he was up against Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday in that division, playing really attractive football. I think was impressive, and I think it'll stand him up really good stead for achieving good things with us.
Kind of a follow-on question again from Mark is, what was actually your role in the process of appointing the new head coach? And then Ricky may have to carry on with your role as well. But John, yourself first.
Yeah, I'll do. So the process was when we'd made a change, the team scoured the market in terms of looking what coaches were available in terms of not just the UK, Europe, actually further afield. So we've scoured the entire world in terms of looking who might be available and who might be suitable for Stoke City. That then condensed down into a long list. Then interviews took place with both Ricky and some senior members of the team here who've got a lot of experience. I think it felt the right thing to do a very thorough job, have a number of eyes on it, a number of different opinions on it. So they did those initial interviews. That whittled it down to a short list. I then met the shortlist candidates, and look, we took, not just did the interview process, not just looked at all the data points, we took references from people we know in the game, and Stephen was the outstanding candidate, and he was then appointed.
Ricky, yourself and your involvement with recruiting Stephen?
It's exactly what John said. We had lots of discussions. We're meeting every day, going through the process, and we had a two-step process with a longer list and a short list. And it was obviously Stephen came out as by far the strongest candidate.
Stephen, well done for not blushing during that as well, because I was going red and I wasn't even you. This next is from Daniel. Do you think that our squad can score enough goals to stay in the league this season? That's for a question for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would be more concerned about that sort of situation if we wasn't creating chances. I know I've said it a few times after games this season already. We haven't been clinical enough with the chances that we have got. But as I say, it'd be more concerning if we weren't creating. I've said it again, since we come in, there's some real quality in this squad and in this team. The way the lads pass and receive the ball, the standard of is really high. And when I compare that to where we've just come from, I believe it's of to a better quality now. It's okay being able to pass the ball and play nice football and get into good areas, but obviously you've got to take your chances. So we have to trust the players that we've got at the moment, hope that they can put them chances away, build some confidence, as I say, get some momentum in their play, and believe that we will have enough firepower to get out of it. But also, I think in all areas of the team we need to still improve. So I think there's been some good signs. We've seen some nice play, but yeah, we can get better in all departments, not just a goal scoring one.
Ricky, once again looking ahead to the summer, but this time about the pre-season training camp. Is there any news of this summer's training camp just yet?
Yeah, there is. Nothing to officially announce, but we're working behind the scenes. We've got games penciled in, and then we've got a trip we're looking at abroad, which will be really something that we will want to build on from last season. So last year, everyone's aware, we took the 21s away with the first team, and I've already run that past Stephen, and he's thought it was a really good idea that we take the both senior squads and the staff out there. So yeah, we're planning to take the 21s and first team again away early in pre-season, and we're getting games fixed up at the moment, and that's been discussed internally, and hopefully as soon as we get to a point near the end of the season, we'll be able to announce them plans. But we want to build on that, because I felt last year the young players especially really had a great opportunity to work with the first team players, and young Sol, and seeing him train every day as a first year scholar and coming out just out of school and taking his opportunity in pre-season and then getting his debut in the League Cup was really special, and I'm a firm believer it was because of that week that he had the chance to train every day alongside the first team staff. So yeah, so we want to do that and create that pathway for our young players, because that's really, really important, and Stephen's really open to that.
Stephen, back to yourself. This one's from James. Do you reflect on some of your substitutions in recent matches and think you could have been more proactive and less reactive? That's from James. Not me.
No. We made 2 subs at half time, so at the weekend, and you can't get much more proactive than that. We felt we needed to make a change and get a couple more attacking players on the pitch, so that was the reason behind that. But I think in general, even previously in the previous games from the weekend, and the way I am as a as a coach, I try and make substitutions as early as possible because it gives the players who are coming on the pitch an opportunity to make an impact. We had some real good success at the previous club with goals from subs, the highest in the league last year. And again, that's an important part of any successful team, because the starting team is, well, it's never the finishing team, very rarely. So we'd like to stress that to the players. I know everyone's disappointed if they don't start games, but we try and stress to them that, look, you're going to make an impact, and we see the reason why we've picked this team is sometimes because the game will lend itself to your qualities the longer that it goes on. So, yeah, make decisions and make proactive substitutions as early as possible is definitely something I'm keen to do.
Next question is from Neil in relation again to the Leicester game, and I think actually in regards to the two substitutions you mentioned there as well. Neil says, what did you see in the first half against Leicester on Saturday that made you believe we could get back into the game by being more open?
Again, we were getting beat 2-0, so we might as well go and have a go and try and score a goal. Like, I know nobody wants to get beat 5-0, but we felt that there was opportunities there to score. I think after they scored their first goal, we had a big chance from Tyrese had the chance, and then I think just after the second goal, Lyndon Gooch had the chance as well, and Pereira made an unbelievable tackle. So we felt there was still going to be chances for us to get back in the game, and that's what we're like. We're positive, and I felt that. And also on Leicester, there's been instances this season where when they're ahead, they don't kill games off because they sort of play at their own pace and allow teams to get back into the game. So we just felt that if we did get a goal, get the crowd going, you just never knew. But as it turned out, it didn't work. And sometimes your subs and your decisions that you make don't work. And when they don't work, yeah, you've got to hold your hand up and say, well, it wasn't for the lack of trying.
John, back to yourself. The last fans forum back in the summer, you stated that you were genuinely optimistic for the future. This question that's come in says, how do you feel now?
Well,
they've not left their name.
Clearly, as I said before, look, I'm disappointed with where we're at, yeah, that's something I feel very personally. And but what I would say is, if I look at since Stephen came in, I think that we I know two were just before he came in, but we went 7 games unbeaten, and I actually thought we were playing some decent football. Then we played Birmingham, then Sunderland. Both games we lost, but I felt both games, certainly the Birmingham game, I thought we played some really good football, but we didn't take our chances, I think, as Stephen alluded to earlier. And then, of course, yeah, the Leicester game is what's most current in my memory, and that wasn't a good day. That said, I've seen enough in those games to feel confident that, as Stephen works with his team, we're going to, I think we've got 16 games left. We're going to improve in the table and take some momentum into next season. And that's what I'll be working hard to try and help him achieve.
Ricky, back to yourself. This one's from Alex. Could you outline the core objectives that the performance of the technical director is measured against?
Okay, so first of all, there'd be like club-wide KPIs, and that would be spanning from football admin, academy, recruitment, sports science, medical, the women's team. So there would be the wider spectrum of the football club that we have to look at, and regarding taking more medium and longer term views. But ultimately, it's about focusing on the first team as well, on results and performance. So, like John said, we look at the games that have gone on and the performances recently. Certainly since Stephen's been in, I've seen some of the data and some of the performances, and I still can't believe we didn't win the Birmingham game, for example, and the way we played. So I know we've left some points out there, but I also know that the performances have to change the results, because we need to show that evidence. That data is only so good. It's the top data line that's most important. That's the score line. So we know that we're not being surprised by that. We need to attack that, and we need to change that from now. And we've got 16 games to try and do that, and we've been trying to do that recently. Last Saturday was very disappointing. We know that, but we want to go forward, hoping to change them results.
I dropped my business studies A-level. What's a KPI? Key performance indicator. You learn something new every day. Thank you very much. Right, let's go back to yourself, Stephen. This is a question, again, no name here, but they say, how do you find a balance between being a disciplinarian following a poor performance and then motivating the players to ensure that they are not fearful going into the next game?
Yeah, I would probably say I'm quite calm after games. I think it's just the way I am with my personality. I think whether we've been really good and we've had a win, I'm quite level-headed. And if we lose games, I don't like to say too much in the heat of the moment. Now, occasionally you have to lose your rag, and you do lose your temper every now and again with players, and you have to have that sort of impact every now and again. But if you're doing that every week, then it loses its effect. So I like to be quite calm and then watch the games the next day when I'm a bit colder and there's less emotion in it. So I'll watch them at home on a Sunday, and then I'll get in on a Monday and either do a whole group sort of debrief where we speak openly about what's gone on at the previous game, or we'll pull players in individually, because I believe all players want help, and they don't mean to make mistakes. They don't walk out on the pitch and mean to play poorly. And also, when they've played really well, they need to be shown sometimes, look, this is what you've done well, this is the reason why we're asking you to do these types of things in the game. So yeah, you won't get too many screaming, ranting and raving. I think the modern coach has changed from that type of approach anyway. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't affect the players' confidence moving forward. And if we can all go out to that room on a Monday in a better space and a better understanding of what's just gone on, then the better it'll be.
On the subject of discipline, we had a question in about Ryan Mmaee, and I know you addressed this in the press conference this afternoon. Could you give the room an update on that situation and the story behind that?
So Ryan at the moment is not available for selection. We just felt that since we've been at the club for 5-6 weeks or whatever it's been, we set out early on in the first couple of days about the standards and behaviour and how you have to act to be part of this squad. And we just felt there was a couple of issues. I won't go into the detail of exactly what happened, but there was a couple of issues with Ryan that I felt he wasn't being a good teammate, wasn't showing the respect for the staff or his own players that probably deserved. And when you say them types of things and when you set them guidelines, I think it's important that you stick to them and you back them up. So I had a conversation with Ryan. Again, it wasn't ranting and raving, it wasn't a big fallout, but I just said for the time being, he won't be available. And until it changes and it's over to him, then that'll be the case. But the door isn't shut. And yeah, he'll have to prove in his behaviour to me and to everybody else that he's willing to be part of this club and part of this team.
Another question on the relationship with players. How do you go about building the players' resilience up and their mental strength as well?
Again, going back to the sort of the video stuff and speaking to players and having conversations with them. As I say, I believe everybody wants help. Players are human beings. They don't, they want to see what they're doing well, and also they want to see where you can make them get better. So that, I think, again, especially here, confidence plays a huge part in it, and the mental strength and the mental how they deal with adversity will grow, and when we see some more results. So it's dead important. As John said at the very start, I'm quite approachable, that type of person that I haven't sort of got a big ego where I haven't got time for anyone. If there's if someone that needs to speak to us, then we're willing to do that, and the rest of the staff that we brought in are like that as well. And there's also good staff at the club that have been here for a long time. So like I said in one of my points as well, we all need to be on the same page to help these players get the performances right, and then as the performances get right, we'll win more games.
How important do you think it is to have that, again, I know you touched on it earlier, that balance though of being a tactician, you know, working out what's going to be like on the pitch, but also that off the pitch relationship that you have to look after as well. For yourself personally, how high do you regard that?
Yeah, so high. I think it goes hand in hand. You have to have one eye on what the opposition are doing, and you have to have a good understanding of what the tactics are going to be for the next game. But then you have to also believe in what you want your team to look like and how you want it to play and what successful looks like. So really strong on that. And then the personal relationships just become natural. And I say if you can get that trust between the staff and then the trust with the players, then as I say, it'll all filter down and we start doing better than what we have been doing previously.
Ricky, this next one's from Michael. A question regarding some media reports that were stating that 80% of the players were available for transfer in January. Are they correct?
No. I can... Yeah, no, I won't 90. That was from the front there. Good banter. No, it wasn't true. It's absolute rubbish. I will just say on social media, and if I'm a supporter and I see rumours going on, I would get really frustrated because there is a lot of rumours being out there that unfortunately is not accurate, and it just gathers some momentum and noise and things like that. But we can't respond to all of that, and that was reported back to me, and it was laughed at internally because that's just not true. We were not putting players up for sale or asking for 80% of our squad to be transferred.
Stephen, next one's for yourself. To what extent do you believe some of our players have been played out of position in recent weeks?
I don't really, but maybe Jordan Thompson, potentially, if that's what we're thinking, if that's what the question's designed for. Okay, so Jordan predominantly has played in midfield and done a good job in there, played in midfield for us this year against Birmingham and done really well. But that system that I like to play, the system that we've been going with, it lends itself to fullbacks that go inside the pitch, like introverted fullbacks. So therefore lends itself to midfield players that can handle the ball in tight areas and in central areas. So the first team that I can remember sort of doing it, or what I kind of first seen that sort of tactic was City, when they started doing it with Fabian Delph, who's a midfield player who kept going inside the pitch to overload the central areas. So Jordan is comfortable doing that. Now, I've spoken to Jordan about it and he's actually enjoying the role. Would he like to play all of his games in midfield? Maybe, but I think as long as he's playing, he's going to be happy. I thought he was outstanding at Rotherham at left back for us. Thought he was probably our best player on the day. He was brilliant. And then against Birmingham here, he played really well and scored a good goal as well. So it's it's one of them, and I try and explain it to the players as often as possible in the system that we play and the style that we play. There's a lot of rotation, and for example, Kiana, for the goal that Jordan scored at Birmingham City away, he ends up being the number 8. He had the chance that he should have scored from and miskicked it. And Gucci then had the chance on the back post and Jordan scores. But Kiana was the left back that night and Wouter was filling in for him because Kiana had gone forward. So that's kind of how I like to play. And that might lend itself to players playing in unusual areas of the pitch. But as long as they know their roles of what it looks like, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, next up is for yourself, John. What are the chances of future changes to profit and sustainability rules that will permit us to invest more heavily in the squad? So get the calculator out for us for this one.
So I think with what's happened in the Premier League, I think there's been more of a light shone on the actual profit and sustainability rules. I believe there's a growing recognition that they're not fit for purpose and that they're a very poor set of rules. I think there will be change, what I don't quite know is how quickly that change will happen and whether they'll change in time for next season or whether they'll be a little bit further on. But, you know, I have a genuine feeling that people have now woken up to the fact that they do need to change.
Okay, next one is for yourself again, Stephen. The question is about players' fitness. It says, are players fit enough and do they have the right attributes to implement your style of play that you were just talking about a moment ago?
Yeah, the players are fit enough. I think it's a cliche every time a new manager goes into a club. You quite often hear, oh, the players just aren't fit enough and they can't do it. So I'm not going to sit here and slag anybody off, far from it. I think the way we play is just different to what was previously going on, how Stoke played earlier on in the season, so the demands slightly changed. I do see an improvement in the 8 games that we've played in the league games. I think all the data is backed up by that, and the stats and the evidence is that I think we're seeing clearly, like even for example in the first game we had a couple of players go down with cramp, so you don't see that in December too often, but that's what happens, as I say, because the demands are just slightly different. We ask the players to run forward loads, to commit more bodies to attacks, which therefore you're going to have to all get back. So it is a higher intensity, a demand, than what was previously maybe going on. But yeah, the players are fit. We've brought in Elliot Turner as well, who I've worked with previously, who I know manages the daily routine of the performance side of the team. So he's really good. He's on it with the gym programs, and he's on it with the what levels of and should they call it periodisation of what the players have to do day in, day out, so they can perform and be available for us every week. So I do see an improvement in that. But again, I think we'll get even stronger, and especially going into next season as well, once we've had a good pre-season behind us.
You brought us nice onto the next question there as well. I get asked this question, or I ask this question to many different people when we're doing phone-ins, and it's, what is success to Stoke fans? So I guess I'm going to ask it to yourself as well. What is success between now and the end of the season, but actually your first full season as well in 24-25?
Yeah, so success in the immediate is to get away from the relegation zone. It's not good enough where we are currently in the league. Before the previous 3 results, we were looking up the table, and we were thinking after the Rotherham game, we're not far away from being a top half of the table team. So we've had three bad results have gone against us, and we are where we are. So there's no hiding behind that. We need to get away from the relegation zone and closer to safety. We can all see the league is really tight. You put 2 wins together and the picture changes. So that's the first priority, to do that. And then next season will be to have a good pre-season. Ricky mentioned it before. Try and get our business done early if we can. So all the players, or the majority of the players, are with us from day one, because that pre-season programme is so important. You need to get it right. You need to get the games right. You need to make sure that you attack the season and everybody knows what we're doing. There's not players coming in 5-6 weeks later trying to get used to a new environment. We want them in as early as possible, and then the aim will be to get into the top half. That's something that we haven't managed to do since we come to the Championship. And then once you're in the top half in this division, you're never far away from the top 6. So that's why I'm here. That's why I wanted to come here, because I believe we've got the ability to do that.
And just to mention about obviously the last few results that you touched on there, how do you make sure that what you set in place, your plans, your tactics, are still being followed, whilst also addressing the last few games as well? What would you have to do to go about that?
Sorry, what was that?
When you have to go about the scenario of those 3 games that you've lost,
yeah.
How do you make sure that your tactics, your fundamentals, your negotiables are still being followed, whilst also addressing those defeats?
We've already addressed them defeats. They've been dealt with. We spoke about them. We knew what we did well in all of them games, and we knew what we didn't do well. So we've addressed that, and we just focus on the next game. That's Blackburn is now our main priority. Just try and focus on that, get the game plan right, get the performance right, and try and get a win there that we're going to need.
John, this is from George. What does the transfer budget look like for this summer? Will there be plenty of room to manoeuvre?
I think going back to the question before, it depends whether there's any change to the profit and sustainability rules. So we're just going to have to see over the next couple of months how they evolve.
Can that change a lot?
Yeah. There could be significant changes depending on that. I mean, what I will say is, look, I think next season, even without any change, because of all the work in addition we're doing with the fan zone and the new training ground, etc., I think we'll end up putting a further 25 million in just next season. So it's not that we're not putting money in, but we need a change in the rules to give us a bit more flexibility.
Then on that about the changing in squads, Stephen, how much change do you believe is needed to the squad over the summer?
I think it's clear we'll need to strengthen in areas of the pitch that we can all see. That's important, but what Ricky said before as well, but there was a lot of players brought in last year, so I don't think there'll be a massive overhaul. As I've said as well, I think there is some talent in the squad, so we need to just make sure that we get the recruitment right, rather than just bringing in loads of numbers for the sake of it. We need to bring in the right people, the right personalities and the right profile of player that's going to help us improve.
Can I ask about players coming back as well between now and the end of the season? Is that looking promising a little bit more now?
Yeah, so obviously Josh Loren got injured in the first game that we were here, which was a bit of a blow because obviously he's a good player. So he's available. He trained with the main squad today, which was good to have him back on the grass. You like him, do you? As a player or good looking? What? Both. Yeah, both. He is. I must have to say he is. He's handsome.
Upsettingly so.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be a boost to have him back. And yeah, so the squad's looking strong. There's only one injury at the moment. That's a concern, a major, which is Ender Stevens. So apart from that, we're okay, and we'll have good numbers moving forward for the last 16 games, hopefully.
Probably nice with Josh on there, because the next question is, which member of the squad would do best on Love Island this season? No, we can squash that one out, actually, scribble that one out. Just while I was talking about the squad, we've not had much chance to see Niall, and of course not Million yet either. How have they been getting on? How have they been settling into the squad?
Yeah, good. Niall's a great lad. Like, I'm sure when people meet him and come across him, he's a really bubbly personality. He's got a nice way about him. What he does as well, he trains really well every day. He's desperate to improve. He deserves his chance at this level. Didn't get many opportunities at Blackburn, so hopefully he can stick one over them at the weekend. So he's done really well, and I know him. So again, it's easier working with players who, you know, they know what to expect from us, and we know what we're going to get from them. And then Million has been a really good lad as well. Speaks really good English. Settled in. He knows Kiana and Wouter from his under 21 days. So yeah, pleased to have him on board. He's going to take him a bit of time. You know, players coming from a different culture and a different country is sometimes difficult to settle in, but he's looked good. He's looked nice and sharp. So I'm sure you'll enjoy watching him play as well.
Yeah, Ricky, can I ask a little bit about, obviously you mentioned in the summer that he was someone that you looked at. What about him was what you think appealed for this squad and why you wanted to bring him here?
Yeah, I think he's got that profile of being a wide player that cuts inside, and so he plays off the right. He can play off the left, but he's left footing, likes to drive inside. He's come through Vitesse and he's come through a really good an academy there. But like what Stephen said, it's only his second club. He's only played at one club, so it's a big move for him. But he's been really good. He's been really bright around it. He's buzzing around the changing room, and obviously Wouter and Kiana Hoover speak really well of him, and they also speak really well of us as well. So he wanted to check about us, and he found out that we are interested, and that's why the deal's become possible. We done our homework on him in the summer, but for one reason or another, we weren't able to do that then, and we're really pleased that we're about to bring him in now, because we hope, along with Niall, that he'll be able to provide some goals and some assists in the final third.
And just to get, I guess, a bit more of an insight into when you bring in players in, maybe a question for you, Stephen. Conversation you're having with him before his arrival, before it's confirmed, are you talking about how he'd fit in with the squad, how he'd fit in terms of on the pitch as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's so important that you explain to the players about why you want to bring them. So it goes back to the KPIs, which key performance indicators. Yeah, so it's got like, we have obviously criteria and something I'm going to have to try and build as well with the recruitment team, because it's new. It's sort of different markers and parameters that we'll be monitoring the players on. But when we looked at Millions, sort of background and data and what he can bring to the team, his qualities are going to lend to how we want to play. So the first day that we got him in here, sat him down and spoke about why we wanted to bring him, showed him clips of our team playing and other players that play in his position and what they do and what we want him to bring. Because if they've got a clear idea of what you want from them, then should be a smoother transition.
Key performance indicators.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Blackburn, then, it's obviously this weekend. I know, obviously, that speaks for itself in terms of the importance for you and the team. Tell us a little bit about what you're expecting from them first, because obviously their run of form has been pretty noted in the media.
Yeah, it has, yeah. And as what always seems to happen, they've just changed the manager, apparently. So that could be harder to prepare for. Yeah, so it's going to be a game that we'll have to try and figure out and see how it pans out. But what we're expecting is what they've shown all season. They're really good going forward. They've got one of the highest possession rankings in the division. They've got one of the highest XG for data in the division, but they've given up loads of opportunities as well because they have been expansive now. Whether that changes with the new manager going in, I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but it's a game that we're confident in, and I'd say it's a game that we're desperate to win.
Final question. This is for all three of you as well. Can each member of the panel give us a reason to be optimistic for the future? I'm going to say you can give us more than one if you've got one. Should we start with Ricky and we'll go down? Ricky, yourself first.
Right, optimistic. So I'd say about the squad, I think that there's a few areas I'd be optimistic about. One would be about the squad, about seeing some of the young players that have come in and shown the potential to settle in. I feel they're only going to get better, and I'm really excited about seeing them. Certainly having a full pre-season, but finishing this season off, I don't want to wish this season away, because I think some of them players are going to have a real impact before the end of the season. Hopefully by scoring more goals, hopefully by being more effective in the final third, but some of the creativity and gelling, that's what I'm really looking forward to. My second point will be about working with this man next to me. I've been really excited, I've been really connected well, and I'm really excited about building that going forward. I think he's got some unbelievable values, and his playing style is really attractive to watch, and I've certainly been watching games thinking, wow, we look bright, we look like we're going to go and score goals, we look like we're going to take the game to them and be on the front foot. So that's my optimism. And then going into the summer, my final bit will be about the work we can do in the summer just to try and knit things together and try and seal some of the areas. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the next 6 months.
Stephen, you're really good at keeping a poker face when people are nice about you. Because I just go like this and get all shy. You have to teach me. Your reasons for being optimistic, tell us a little bit about those.
Well, I'm looking forward to the last 16 games. Like, I know that the previous couple haven't gone the way we wanted, but I've been, as I say, quite impressed with what I've seen so far. It's not easy for a group of players to adapt and change midway through a season and take to a new management team and a new idea as seamlessly as what they kind of did. So I'm looking forward to that, trying to build on what we're trying to do and get some results and try and get rid of this voodoo at home that we've got. That's what I'm excited about. And then the second part of that would be the pre-season. Can't wait for that, because that's where you lay your foundations of how your team's going to look. So getting a good pre-season, getting away on a nice trip where we get some good work in is going to be valuable. And yeah, looking forward to next season. Can't wait.
Before I go to John, I get the sense from both of you actually that there's still reason to be optimistic and look forward to the games to come between now and May as well. Is that fair to say, Stephen?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely, because that's the most important thing. We've got business to take care of on the pitch. We can't be looking too far ahead. We've got to look at the next the next game, and get the points that we need to get away from the trouble that we're currently in.
Is that Ricky? Do you echo that as well?
Yeah, we've got some young players that are still developing, and they need to keep developing this season so that they're more rounded and more ready for the forthcoming season. So there's some young players, and I don't want to individual names, but that they need to keep learning, and they need to attack these 16 games so that they're in a better place for the summer. So 100%, I feel some of the players out there, they don't want this season to be ended. They want to keep going. They want to prove that we can get up the table, get some wins, both home and away. And I think that's something that we're really attacking going forward.
I will come to you in a second. Stephen, do you think they've got a point to prove as well, especially with the last few games, the lads in the squad?
Yeah, definitely, because we're all sitting here saying we're not happy about our current league position and how the season's gone so far. So, yeah, because the players feel the same. They do care. I think they're a group that want to do well. So, yeah, they have got something to play for and definitely something to prove, yeah.
John, before we wrap up then, reasons to be optimistic for the future of Stoke City Football Club. I'll leave it with yourself, the chairman.
Okay. Stephen Schumacher, and at some stage, Junho Bae is going to start. Goals and assists are going to come. So, them are two.
Yeah. Sorry, Junho Bae is mustard, isn't he, by the way? How good is Junho Bae? Stephen, do you want to just talk a little bit about how exciting it is working with him? And I'm the one that's name-dropping him there, no one else. You won't get in trouble.
He's been brilliant. He's really exciting. And when he, as John's just said, when he adds goals and assists to his game, he's going to be some player. Now, he's got to keep playing, keep believing in what he's doing, keep getting himself into good areas, because he does get in them quite often. Just got to find a way to hit the net.
And you've mentioned it as well, John. The last few games that you've seen from Stephen since he's been in charge have, again, been a reason, as you've touched on, if you want to elaborate, to be optimistic. You're liking what you're seeing.
No, I'd watched last. I think I've mentioned it before. I watched them play Ipswich last season when he was at Plymouth, and it was a good game. And I was, and then I've seen obviously on the training pitch and in the game so far. It's good football to watch, but obviously we now need to turn that into winning football.
There we have it. Okay, that's just about all we have time for. Stephen, I didn't ask you how you like your oatcakes. I knew they'd be asking for that on the... I'm going to get in so much trouble. We'll leave that on, I think. But I appreciate all three of you coming down and answering the questions today. Our studio audience, thanks to you guys as well. Thanks for watching at home. A big round of applause. Thank you.